All right, let's do this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to an edition of the Perfarmer. There it is. Cigar. We're in the garage. We kind of got some lawnmowers going. It looks like the wind actually kicked up, so this might have been a much better idea to sit out here in the garage. I do have a special guest today. Say hello.
Hello.
If you couldn't see her shoes, we have homeschooling mama with us. You might notice that we're in opposite chairs. Usually I'm in the left stage and she's on the right stage. But for whatever reason, this wind is blowing the smoke directly in the wrong direction. Usually it blows it out towards our man door. Well, for whatever reason, it's blowing it back to the corner. So what are we smoking? What are we drinking? This is a fun cigar. I've been looking forward to this one. It is, let me get rid of that here real quick, from Oscar Valderas, Alter Q Sumatra cigar. If you guys are used to the Leaf by Oscar, you know they have these bands. They're made of tobacco, so you can totally smoke through them. I really enjoy the flavor of them, so I'm going to smoke right through them. Some people, though, will remove part of the band to change the flavor. So you can buy these cigars and actually have like 3 or 4 different flavor sensations. Whether you smoke through the band, you don't smoke through it, you smoke through half of it. But I'm smoking through all of it because I thoroughly enjoy the flavor. For my drink, from Odd Side, I think, the camera's on the wrong side, so I keep trying to push it over towards where I usually put it, and I gotta keep it close. We have the Bean Flicker, the S'mores from Odd Side. I think I've had this one on the channel before. If I remember correctly, it's actually quite tasty because it's creamy, it's got some chocolate in it. They put some vanilla bean, if I remember correctly. So I'll give her a little pour here. It smells good. Let's see. Oh, come on. This is just not working out for me today. There's good head on it. Let's give it a try. Yep. That's what I was expecting. A little faux marshmallow, a little bit of cream. Be just tasty. So what are you drinking today, homeschooling mama?
It's such a surprise that it's not alcohol. No, it's just coffee actually.
Coffee.
Breakfast blend, I believe.
Yeah,
so
breakfast.
A little stronger.
Yeah, a little stronger breakfast blend. I think that's actually like the local co-op, and it's their brand of coffee. It seems to be doing all right. That's pretty good.
It's stronger than I'm used to, but I don't think that's bad. It's just stronger.
So
whatever you said the other day, where you got coffee and I drank it, that was espresso.
yeah, the mug shot. We have a little coffee food truck that's set up here in town, and they have some pretty strong coffee that they're peddling. But anyway, for the topic tonight, this week marks the 80th anniversary to when we decided to deploy the sun against our enemy. Ended up nuking Japan, both in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as a way to try and end World War II. And it worked. It did actually end the war. But there are a lot of questions about, was it needed? A lot of debate on the morality of it. A lot of discussion about what other options we had, and was there ulterior motives actually for using the nuclear weapons. So I thought it'd be fun. Both of us have actually looked into it, kind of researched on our own, kind of together, had discussions about it. But we thought it might be fun on this video to kind of just spend some time, I guess, debating, discussing, counterpointing. I don't really know, because it's, I guess to start off, are you for or against the using the nuclear bombs in World War II?
Well, I think there's some moral ambiguity there.
And that's why it's more of a discussion, because I'm kind of that same realm. Obviously, we did it. It worked. But did we have to do it? And which one would have had... Well, it's just, I guess we start right in on it. I mean...
Well, okay, so I think the important thing when people are talking about this is hindsight's 20/20, and it's important to keep in mind that we didn't know then what we know now, with what the effect, the damage that was going to be done, and honestly, we didn't know not just short-term effect, long-term effect, and it's easy to look back and say they made a terrible choice, but if we lived in that time period,
And that's
we might feel differently.
That's
Like,
one way to look at it. Because I mean, what came out, I guess, recently, air quotes there, recently, was there were already high-level talks in the Japanese government about surrendering.
but those high-level talks consistently came back with, we're not going to surrender. There's no such thing as surrender in the Japanese culture.
But the fact that they were having them definitely put some doubt into them. Because we knew they were having some talks, but the degree to which they were actually happening, we found it was a lot more than we knew.
Yes, but one thing to keep in mind is it was a militaristic government. The leaders of the country, the ones that were making the decisions, were in the military, and they adamantly refused to surrender. And they had control. I mean, even though I believe he was an emperor, even though the emperor wanted to continue the fight, or didn't want to continue the fight, they were telling him what they would and would not do.
True enough.
And I mean, all they had to do, their military, all they had to do was either imprison him, which we've seen happen in their culture in the past, or kill him, which find a new emperor, put a 3-year-old on the throne again. Like that's happened all through their history. So to say that, yeah, there were talks about surrender, well, okay, but when most of your decision-making power is in the control of the military, and they are actively saying they refuse to surrender no matter what the cost is, I don't know how realistic it is that they were talking to surrender then.
Maybe. I mean, you're just hearing some, and again, it's very contemporary. They found a journal of one of the Japanese generals who basically said he believes we're going to lose this war because they were confronted by the ice cream ship of the Navy of the Pacific. A ship, they had too many ships. They had ships that were designed to make concrete, to make quick bases. You land them on, and then you make concrete. Well, they had too many, so they converted 2 into making just ice cream. And the general puts in his notes, in his journal, that if they had this capability, that they could actually waste resources. Meanwhile, the Japanese are like telling civilians, just one cup of rice can feed a family because we're running out of food, we're running out of munitions. And the U.S. says, okay, just 1 quart of ice cream per soldier per day because, we're in the Pacific after all.
But culturally, though, so you can't surrender.
Oh, I understand that.
And even if there is a single general saying, I think we should consider it, one, he's not going to say that in public. Like, he's
Fair.
not going to say that.
Well, there's a reason it was in his journal and not in
exactly.
But if that doubt was at it with a general, you have to imagine it had to been doubt throughout all the ranks.
Possibly, but I would say that's less likely because you are, again, in a society where what you're told by the leader is what you do.
I suppose I'm coming at this from an Americanistic view.
Yeah, I mean, you have kamikaze pilots who it is a huge honor to die.
Or I suppose.
So, that's the culture. It is an honor to sacrifice.
I suppose there's the story of the pilot who wanted to be a kamikaze pilot, but he didn't want to leave his wife and child. So his wife killed the child and committed suicide so he could then be free to be a kamikaze pilot.
That's awful, but yeah.
That's one of the stories. There's stories like that where you have.
So, I mean, that's what makes me think that, okay, even if there was a single general, or even half a dozen, say, that thought that maybe there was no winning, just because you can't win doesn't mean you quit.
Fair enough. So, I mean, I think we both can agree. I think history would agree that Japan would have liked to have slogged that out as long as they could have.
Yeah, well, that's definitely where they were going. That's why we tried to end it.
Yeah.
And they are brilliant fighters.
The one thing I kind of have some trouble with is they were out of allies. China was against them. Russia didn't want anything to do with Japan. They're in an island country, and at that time, we had the biggest naval fleet in the world. We had destroyed. Japan did have a formidable aircraft carriers and destroyers. They didn't have any submarines that I know of. I don't think they had any.
But until Germany was defeated and stuff, they still had allies.
But we didn't bomb them until after all those resources were freed up.
Yes, but they wouldn't. That's not to say that they didn't think they could make more allies. They were working on it.
Fair enough.
And there's nothing to say that China and Japan would not have become allies again.
Oh no, then they were staunch enemies. Like,
Yes.
because Japan was trying to conquer all of China, which
Again, the
Fighting
enemy of my
force.
enemy is my friend.
fair enough. I'll concede that point that
I would be shocked if they didn't have some kind of plan as far as making more allies.
regardless, I think I do agree with you the assessment that it was going to be another 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, they weren't
of
just going to
fighting.
give up.
Yeah. So, then enters the other big questions. Was there, in your opinion, more or less civilian loss of life by using the atomic bomb?
That depends on which civilians. I honestly believe that Japan and a lot of the studies or information shows they were working on a way to attack the United States again. Actually, they had several ways that they attempted and they just kept failing.
Well, they had the balloons.
They had the balloons, the weather balloon things. They had of course, the kamikaze pilots in Hawaii. But they were working on a way to expand their range and do that to mainland USA. So, had the war continued, do I think they would have killed?
Would they have focused on going to the U.S. when they had the enemy at their gates type thing? Like, you're not going to be sending out... I mean, it's fun to do in Warcraft, when the old Warcraft, like, as you're going to attack the front door, you send your army to the back door. But, I mean, that's logistically
A problem, but at the same time, if your soldiers are more concerned with what's happening back at home, are they going to continue fighting at the front? They're going to want to turn around and go protect their borders, which
suppose.
would have been unprotected. So I think had the war continued, yes, I think there would have been a huge attack on the United States, and I think we would have had a loss of life that would have been, potentially been the same or exceeded that of the bombs.
Interesting. Okay, I see where you're going. I don't believe that. I don't believe they would have been able to, especially once they put the pressure of the entire Allied forces on one little
Granted,
island.
now suddenly everybody's focused on them.
Yeah.
But it's not like that was overnight. You couldn't just abandon the countries
it would
where the
take-
fighting was.
it would
It would
take
take a
months, if not a
long
year.
time
Fair enough.
to get those soldiers to actually be able to fight on the same front.
Yeah.
Because
I will concede that point.
You can't
but
just
it's
leave
not,
a war-torn country. I mean, that's how you end up with segments that are taking over and making new governments, and
This is true. I'll concede that.
so
point.
it's not like they could have just, okay, they surrendered, we're all gonna go.
True.
Like, it doesn't happen that fast.
True enough. I will concede that point to you. Now, what do you think about the use of the nuclear bomb? Well, let's just go with the first one. So the first one was in Hiroshima. It was a civilian center. It was not a military center. So they didn't drop the bomb on the.
But it was
the
industrial,
shipyard.
wasn't it?
It did have some industry, but from what I understand, it was kind of like you have your Detroit. Like, yes, there were car factories, but by and large, it was a civilian center. Like, it was a.
Well, do I think we dropped it on the best possible place to limit civilian loss of life? No. But did we have the technology we have today where we could pinpoint a house? No.
But, I mean, they could have dropped it in a harbor where they're building battleships, warships. I mean, had our own little Pearl Harbor where we go solely after their military.
True, but the problem with dropping it in a harbor is by that time we already knew that the bomb was going to cause contamination. Do you contaminate the ocean and risk the whole world's population?
Yeah, but the risk of that is minimal at best.
But
and-
at the time, what the research was saying, we didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, even attacking inland bases, as far as I understand. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong.
Well, okay, but their bases were intermixed. From my understanding now, Japan is a small island in comparison to what we're used to over here. So it could be that civilian centers were just like what you were there. Now, I think maybe the intention was to horrify, shock, awe, and make them want to withdraw faster. But
Now, there are some who question, should we maybe have hit like out like an island, like where they can see, the generals will see and notice the power of what we have, but does not actually affect civilians.
But that's that whole, if you're not willing to use it on us, obviously you're not, you're not going to use it on us. And that was a big part of that, I think. It was
Yeah.
they're not actually going to do that. Because the whole world knew about the atomic bomb. There were spies everywhere. Like, to the effect of what exactly would be the results, no. But they were given warnings before the first one was even sent.
Yeah, but they didn't say a nuclear attack. They just said the city's going to be attacked.
No, they said it was a nuclear bomb. Everybody who was anybody in like the generals and everything, they knew we had nuclear. They knew we were working on it decades, like years into the war. Like, that was, as secret as our program was, there were spies at Los Alamos. Like,
knew it.
The world knew. Like, the leaders of the world knew. And Truman did warn Japan. Truman, through MacArthur, had Japan sent a warning that we had an atomic bomb. Now, it was the first atomic bomb. Did they know what that power meant? Maybe not, but they knew it was coming.
That is true. I concede that they did know, and from what we're learning, yes, the Manhattan Project
Was not as secretive.
It's not as secretive as we thought. There are definitely spies on multiple fronts, and I believe Oppenheimer. I think it was in Oppenheimer. They put that. They actually had a scene where they're like, "We can't just build it without using it. Like, we have to use it, so they know we will."
Yes. Well, and that's the problem. Like, oh, we have this big bomb. Great, good for you. Like, and honestly, I think it's a great thing that our country is generally, like, considered moral, and we're Christian, and, like, we try not to do more injury than absolutely necessary. But that does put that out there that they're never going to use it because it's too dangerous.
Yeah, it's too dangerous, too big.
Or it'll cause too much death or too much damage. Where, unfortunately, that's what kept happening. Well, they're not going to do it. And they were emboldened after being able to attack Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
And granted, this is years into the war now that they have,
Yeah, that they've realized. Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those things where I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted as to whether or not it had to be used. I think we could have used it in another fashion. Like, I am all for we should have dropped it in their harbor. Like, dropped it, bombed out their navy, and it's a military target. It got hit hard. Not only that, now you're behind.
But I don't think there were ships in their harbor. Like, I don't think there was a lot in their harbor. I think they were out warring, for lack of a better phrasing. They were out on the ocean. They weren't in the harbor.
Fair enough.
So, now, I don't know, but I don't think they had a lot of, like, this is a huge base, this is a big base, this is a big base. I think it was a lot of, here's a small place, here's a small... And they used their islands for, their bases and to train. So, I don't know how good our intelligence actually was with what was where as far as bases and...
Fair.
So, I do think it was tragic. I think the poor civilian population, like, they suffered greatly.
Oh, yeah.
And I do believe they're still affected by it.
Yep. There's been a lot of cleanup efforts.
There have, but this is what, 80 years?
80 years later.
Most people who, were alive then are either dead or maybe don't remember much of what it was like, but it didn't get better immediately again. So, like, you probably have people who grew up in a war-torn, this is just,
Yeah, there's a lot of cancer and genetic defects.
Well, and that's, like, we've read stories about that, right? The Swan? No, not swans. The 1,000
Cranes.
cranes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was sadly common.
Yeah.
Like young children who were born after the bombings and everything that ended up with leukemia because they were still getting exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an island. There's only so far you can go.
So what are your thoughts about using the second one? Because we used the first one. News got out. They realized, yes, we had it. Yes, we're willing to use it.
But they still refused to surrender.
But I mean,
They were given so many days
they
to
were given
surrender.
3 days.
I thought it was 9.
It's 3. No, because it happened right. Like they both happened this week.
The 6th and the 9th.
It was like the 5th and the 9th or something
Okay.
like that. 6th and the 5th.
Well, they
and the
were
9th.
given time to make a decision. Now,
But I
granted,
mean-
again, small island. It's not like it took them long to go and assess
Yeah,
the
but
damage.
Even in today's society, we can't make a decision in 3 days. I mean, current. Who is
But
it?
in today's society, part of the problem is we have so many people making decisions. They had 3 segments running the country, one that was in charge. They made the decisions. It's not like now where you have, we have hundreds of people trying to make one decision and sitting there debating and arguing and whittling it down for days and days and days.
Fair. I'm just saying, like we gave who's it? Israel and Palestine. We gave them 10 days to
This
come
is
to
also way, way in the future. Again,
I understand. We gave them more time.
Hindsight's
Then when we-
2020 though. Like it is
I
easy for
understand.
us to look back and say, okay, but you also have to
Well-
take weather conditions into account. And there was only so many days where that could have even been.
I understand. I'm just
Dropped.
saying that you look at like 3 days is not like it would have taken 1 day for the news to get there, 1 day at least for a true damage assessment. Like for a place that had not been, their homeland had not been attacked in, I forget what they said, it was like 100 years or something. Japan had not had an invasion of their homeland.
Oh, I don't know.
So like the people didn't know, like any attack would be the worst thing ever. And then they have less than a day to respond back. Like that's just a crazy turnaround. I think that's quite unrealistic.
But I also don't think that was a lot of that was the weather conditions. You have to remember the bomb was supposed to be he flew to drop the bomb 3 times before he could actually drop it, and then he had to change locations. It originally wasn't supposed to be dropped there. That was like a secondary or third location because of the visibility. They wanted to make sure that he could at least see where it was going to be. So I think it's unrealistic to say, well, we should have given them an extra 3 weeks. Well, by then you're in the raining season where you can't fly and you can't see. So they didn't have the luxury of time.
I don't know about that. See, that's weak sauce because they'd have weather clear up all the time. They'd have, and even if it's not, like, give it some time to really sink in. Like
I'm just-
3 days is not.
Again, though, it's hindsight's 2020. We want this done. We want this over. We want the fighting ended.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard other people say that they think that was the only atomic bomb we have. But again, that's kind of weak sauce.
I
Like,
don't see how
that's-
they could think that was the only one, but because it was such a massive explosion, I could see them saying, there's no way you have 2.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's what happened. Maybe behind closed doors it was you'd never do this again. And it was okay, we have to call the bluff now.
Maybe. Like I said, I have a hard time believing that 3 days was sufficient and dropping the second was needed. Like, yes, it might have been another month's or two's worth of fighting, but now you're bringing it to their homeland. They're all radiated, getting sick. They all died a dishonorable death.
I'm not saying either bomb was necessary.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of suggesting
I'm
to
actually
end the war
more-
quicker and...
I'm actually more, this is why I think it was done. Do I honestly believe that we should have dropped either bomb? I don't know. I think it's absolutely horrible what those people have gone through and what they went through then. So I'm glad it wasn't my choice. Honestly, and I'm glad I didn't have to live through seeing the repercussions of that choice.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, it's easy to look back at it and say, well, there was no reason, or there is a reason, or I mean, if you look at what people knew at the time, it was, and I don't know that we even understood exactly how much damage was going to be done.
I think we did. I think we understood how much damage was going to be done. I mean, there's significant testing. That was not the first bomb we blew up.
We really only blew up one test.
No, we actually had
We
quite
had a
few.
bunch of
No,
like simulations, but we really only blew up one test.
No, we did more than just the Lake Groom one. There were quite a few bombs that went. Oh yeah.
Not before.
See, search it up. How many you got your phone? I don't see how many nuclear tests did we do before. I think it's somewhere in the range of like 5 or 10.
I don't think so. Not of the actual dropping of the, because we didn't have enough.
We had plenty. That's an urban myth.
No.
No, when you actually listen to scientists talking about how long the machines were running and how much one machine could produce, they had so much nuclear material. They were bathing in it, literally.
Only one nuclear test, the Trinity test, July 16th, 1945. It was the world's first detonation of a nuclear device. It tested the implosion type plutonium. See, we used implosion with Fat Man, but the little boy was actually uranium, and it was, I don't think it was implosion. And the uranium,
All are implosion.
nope, the uranium gun type design, so it shoots it out, was actually never tested before it was used. Because they were convinced that it would work, and they didn't run a risk another attempt. Plus, they didn't have any more plutonium. That's why they couldn't test it. So to say that we knew exactly how much or what the damage would be, it was all mathematics. It was all calculations, because the one test we did, we didn't use nearly as much as what was in the actual bomb. It was supposed to be scaled down so that we could estimate the damage.
I think we still knew.
We did. It was all mathematical based, what the estimation would be. And even at the time of the test, they said this is going to vary. It's going to depend, because how deep is it going to fall into the, like when they drop it, how deep into the earth is it going to go? What are the wind
They actually
conditions?
exploded above the earth. They didn't go into the earth.
Well, what are the wind conditions? What are the,
burst. Yeah,
like,
I get it.
they there's only so much you can estimate, chaos theory there, like, that's going to change it. So, I mean, yes, but there was only one test. We didn't have enough to test more.
I think we did.
We didn't. We did tests of different parts of the device, but we couldn't actually test. So, I think we went into it thinking we know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the only one who truly knew was Oppenheimer, because
Maybe.
he did not want us to use it, but at the same time knew that it might actually be needed to end the war. And unfortunately, I think all those scientists did that. Like, they wanted to prevent death, but by doing it, what is it? It became the destroyer of worlds. Is that what Oppenheimer said? Something
Yep.
to that effect. Like, it was horrible.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm still in between minds. I'm definitely against the second one. I think the second one was just rubbing dirt in a wound, especially 3 days later. Like, I can respect weather, but you wait 6 months for spring to hit, and it's still going to be just as deadly, just as effective.
Well,
Not
okay.
to mention after you pound them with artillery from the harbors and whatnot.
Waiting 6 months, then it's salt in an open wound, because one, public opinion would be so different after the first bomb within 3 days
Oh, see,
to 6 months later.
I disagree with that.
I think
because
the public, if 6 months later, the public would be in an uproar. Don't do that ever again, because they
See,
saw the effect. By 6
maybe,
months,
but if you have boys who haven't been home and they're like, it's been 6
I
months,
think
we
that's
don't
why
have a
we were willing
surrender.
to do it in the first place.
Yeah, I understand the first. Again, I don't disagree with the first one. It's the second one. I'm adamantly. I don't think we had to do the second one. I think this should have been a weight game.
I feel like there was more to it than what anybody truly
Oh,
knows.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm even a war historian. I'm just
I mean,
that I even know the publicly available facts, let alone what was actually going on.
To be honest, I've studied it quite a bit because that was, I mean, I think we read 4 entire books about it a couple of years
Yeah.
ago when for homeschool. So and very very in depth, involved books.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. The second one I don't necessarily understand, but I can tell you why they said they did it.
You know, I understand why they said they did. And they also wanted to give the error that they had a stockpile of these. And that,
Well, I mean, there is something to be said for trying to scare the world into behaving.
which is weird.
What was it,
because,
Ender's Game? You fight the battles that you're going to come after. That's why you keep
Yeah,
fighting
you
that
fight-
first battle.
Yeah, you fight the first battle to end the second.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
To prevent the second and the third.
Yep. But at the same time, we never actually. There was a historian who said, you know, what should have happened had this been 100 years earlier, whoever developed the nuclear bomb, or if it not even like if it had been Russia or one of our other allies who developed, Britain even, they would have taken over the world because they're all like, you're going to surrender to me. Well, I don't think so. Well, then I'm going to drop a nuke on you. Like.
But the world had changed so much, and we were not the only country that was close to coming up with an atomic.
We were the closest. Even Russia took many years and communism to develop theirs and stealing our scientists. But
No, we kind of stole theirs and Germany's.
that's
Although
that's NASA.
Germany was a mass exodus, I think.
That's,
Scientists.
that's our NASA program is brought to you by 1940s Germany.
I'm just saying, I think there was way more to the situation of why the second bomb was dropped than anybody was really told.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I will say with the information and whatnot that I have currently, I don't think the second one was needed.
Well, and again, would more people have died had we just continued fighting the way we were? Maybe, maybe not. Would we have spent another veritable fortune fighting that war? Yes. Yes, we would have. And obviously more soldiers alone would have died just because of fighting.
True. Fair enough.
So, and I don't know.
Well,
Clearly there's no, I don't think there's a correct answer because you can't
well,
change
no,
history
you
anyway.
can't go back and change it. It's all speculation and guessing at this point, and Monday morning quarterbacking and office chair expertise. You know what they call those mouse?
I don't
Or what's
know.
it called? Keyboard warrior.
Well, I don't know.
Keyboard warriors.
So, it was I don't know. I do think it changed the world though.
Oh, obviously.
I think we have a better understanding of what people are capable of.
Yeah, I mean it is unfortunate we now live in that era that, you know, that is a possibility. It's just looking at the temperament of the man now instead of the temperament of a country, because a lot of these are controlled by individuals.
Yeah, families.
Yeah, it's not controlled anymore by a country. It's controlled by individuals, which is a scary thought.
A very scary thought.
But
But fortunate. Well, I don't know that that's fortunate. Now we have much better
see, but I look at the 19 when they outlawed the Star Wars program, which was designed to shoot down Russian nukes. They outlawed it, saying that if we have a system that can shoot those down, it will encourage people to use nuclear missiles and ballistic missiles more. Because if you can shoot them down and I shoot them, like, it's not as big of a deal. So it almost encourages the escalation of using nukes and ballistic missiles.
I don't know about that.
That's what they outlawed. It was the rationale why they outlawed it. That if we made it so that we have the Star Wars program where we can shoot them down, one, you're going to have countries try to get around it. Mm-hmm. And then two, it de-incentivizes the use or the non-use of them. It encouraged the use of them because, well, if they can shoot them down, we'll send them up. And then it kind of takes some of the moral obligation out of your hands.
Yeah, but I mean, if it gets through, it's still going to kill millions of people.
But then it's not on the country who shot its fault. It's on your Star Wars program was not as good as you thought.
I don't know about that.
That was a rationale why they actually shut down the Star Wars program.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember the name of the people that ran them Stargate, right? They have the the one culture who is so technologically advanced that they no longer fight wars.
Oh yeah, the
But they have
the
those.
Shen? No, it was the.
No,
I know who you're talking about.
but they have they have the capabilities to protect their planet no matter what, right? And I mean, what a dream for most places.
Yeah, but then they got overthrown.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It gets not. It gets. I think they still defend themselves though.
No, their planet was actually ended up being destroyed because it turns out they were not the biggest, baddest power in the world. That was Anubis came in and got ancient weapons and proved that his ships were impervious to the.
I don't know because they moved to a different planet. Is that what you're talking about?
Nope. They actually there's a whole thing about it where
The whole arc.
because they actually started to develop a weapon to be developed to be shot at America to the Earth. It was to defeat the Stargate and the Iris, and that was them teaming up with Anubis because Anubis proved that he could take them out, but because they were no longer a warring country, warring people,
right.
they had no defenses. So their only recourse they felt was to comply.
I see. But then they don't comply.
They did comply, but then, well, SG-1 got in there, blew up the base, took out the weapon,
Yeah.
and then their planet was destroyed. So before we go down too many rabbit holes,
Yeah, that's quite the rabbit
that was a quick rabbit hole there. Anyway, any last thoughts on this topic?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. There's not really.
Again, hindsight's 2020, armchair quarterbacking and keyboard warring aside, we don't actually know what would have happened if we only dropped one or if we didn't drop any. Who knows? Definitely the war probably would have went on longer in either situation. But would the losses have still been the same? I don't know.
I think it's hard to go back and estimate. Although I know there's statisticians who do.
Well, I'm sure there's people who think they know exactly how it went down, but again, you weren't in that time, culture, and headspace. So, anyway, folks, I'm gonna go finish what's left of my delicious cigar, grab another beer, make it with homeschooling mama, have a little fun tonight. Anyway, folks, stay safe out there. See you in the next one.